It is not cheating, it is not poverty. This pattern of concession is perceived by her, not as kindness, but as weakness. And once she senses that weakness, once she understands that your structure is negotiable, the collapse of respect is inevitable and total. Women are biologically and psychologically hardwired to seek safety, and safety is found in strength. Your strength, in a relationship context, is defined entirely by the firm, immovable lines you draw in the sand. They are the 7 pillars of your reality that, if moved, broken or compromised, signal to her that you are not the secure foundation she believed you were. When those pillars crumble, her hypergamous nature, which always seeks the highest value available partner, registers you as a lower value man who can be controlled and therefore cannot be truly respected. This isn't about being cruel or demanding. This is about self-preservation and establishing the framework for a healthy, high-respect dynamic. Because once the relationship starts, she will test them. She won't test them maliciously. She will test them instinctively, attempting to find the edges of your reality, the limits of your tolerance, and the price of your commitment. That trade always results in long-term resentment. Hers, because she settled for a weak man, and yours, because you gave up your sovereignty for a woman who now treats you with contempt. Now, before we dive into the first 3 fundamental non-negotiables that must be set in stone, take a moment. Where are you currently receiving this vital information? Drop the name of the city you are in right now. Let's begin with the first 2 most crucial non-negotiables. These are the ones men often surrender first, mistaking self-abandonment for affection. The error most men make is defining their self-worth by their ability to provide immediate emotional or physical availability. They get into a relationship and instantly relegate their purpose, the very thing that made them attractive in the first place, to the background. When you consistently place her emotional comfort or spontaneous desire above the deliberate, focused work required to achieve your purpose, you are signaling 2 things that instantly kill respect. First, you are signaling to her that your future trajectory is secondary. They may say they want a man who prioritizes them, but what they truly respond to is a man who is clearly moving toward becoming a better version of himself. When you interrupt your work or abandon your mission easily, you appear distracted, unfocused, and lacking the drive that makes a man capable of long-term security. Second, you are signaling that your internal reality is weak. A man with a powerful mission operates from a set schedule and disciplined priorities. She now knows that she holds the power to manipulate your time, and therefore, your reality. The test isn't the ice cream. The test is whether she can interrupt your flow simply by expressing a desire. Establish protected time for work, fitness, skill development, and solitude. When she attempts to breach this time, by calling unexpectedly, demanding immediate attention during focused hours, or scheduling over your gym time, the answer must be a calm, kind, but immovable, "I can't right now. I have to finish X. I will be free at 8 p.m., and I look forward to seeing you then." She might pout. She might use guilt or withdrawal. This is the test. If you hold the line, she learns that your purpose is a structural feature of your life, not a temporary hobby. She learns that if she wants your time, she must respect your schedule, thereby respecting you. Never let your mission be the first thing you abandon. Your self-respect depends on it, and her respect for you follows directly from that self-respect. I am not talking about joint budgeting after marriage. That's mutual responsibility. I am talking about the dynamics during dating, engagement, and even early marriage, where she attempts to assume custodial control over your resources or uses financial expectations as a tool for emotional manipulation. The pattern begins subtly. She criticizes the cost of your hobbies, your golf clubs, your video games, your specialized tools, or that expensive trip you planned with your male friends. This is fundamentally an attempt to redirect your resources exclusively toward her and her domain, thereby isolating you from your support structures and stripping you of your autonomy. Understanding the psychology. Money is power, and how you allocate your money is a visible demonstration of your priorities and freedom. The moment she becomes your financial supervisor, she ceases to view you as an equal partner or respected provider. She views you as a resource that needs management and correction. The non-negotiable is simple. You maintain complete final authority over how you invest your resources and time. especially in areas that contribute to your status, health, and male bonding. A. Counter spending on self. You must maintain the freedom to invest in your fitness, your education, your hobbies, and your male relationships without justification or guilt. I make the final decision on my personal spending. If this leads to a fight, remember the principle. She is testing whether she can seize control of the purse strings and, by extension, your sovereignty. B. Common support for family friends. You must never allow a woman to veto your moral obligation to your parents, siblings, or lifelong friends. If she forbids this or forces you to retract your support, she is signaling that you must sacrifice your moral identity and external loyalty to be acceptable to her. A man who abandons his family or friends at his partner's behest signals spinelessness. This is a fatal blow to respect, because she knows instinctively that if you would abandon your foundation for her, you would eventually abandon her for the next convenient option. The result of holding the line. When you stand firm on the deployment of your resources, stating clearly that your financial decisions are yours and are final, you convey strength and independence. She learns that she is a beneficiary of your success, not a controller of your means. This distinction is vital. Beneficiaries respect the source of the resource. Controllers feel entitled to command it. Surrender this, and you become the resentful CFO of her comfort zone. You must build a life where your purpose, your time, and your money are structurally defined by you. We've only covered the first two, but these are often the foundations men allow to rot first. The next few non-negotiables dive into the realm of emotional management and social interaction, where the disrespect becomes even more insidious and hard to identify. This is not negotiable. This is a requirement for survival and success in modern relationship dynamics. We are establishing an essential vocabulary here, a way to frame these demands on your life. I want to build a shared phrase, a mantra for every man watching this who is ready to reclaim his power. Think about the core lesson of this entire segment, the consequence of letting her define your reality. We need a definitive phrase that encapsulates that failure. Suggest a powerful phrase in the comments right now. Something we can all use to remind ourselves of the cost of compromise. For example, the collapse of compromise, or the price of permissiveness. Drop your best suggestion below. You recognize the value in this clarity. You understand this truth is essential to building the life you deserve. Guarantee you don't miss the next stage of this education. Hit the subscribe button immediately. Give this video a like right now to confirm that you are ready for the next level of non-negotiable standards. In the next part, we tackle non-negotiables 3, 4, and 5. The critical standards regarding emotional control, your social reality, and the absolute requirement to veto her bad behavior. You are about to learn the hidden laws of relationship power that will forever change how you interact with women. Get ready. If you missed the foundation we laid, you missed the most critical framing. The truth is, a woman doesn't respect a man for his potential or his promises. She respects him for the tangible boundaries he enforces and the consistency of his actions. It is about aligning the man she thinks you are with the man you actually are. The moment those two images diverge, the respect dissolves into contempt, and that contempt is the fuel for her eventual departure. Women test boundaries unconsciously, almost biologically, to determine where a man sits in the social hierarchy, and crucially, whether he possesses the fortitude to lead. If he fails the tests, he reveals himself as weak, adaptable, and ultimately interchangeable. Before we proceed, recognize the scale of this information. We are dismantling decades of cultural lies designed to confuse men into subservience. Tell me, right now, where are you processing this information? Which city or state are you listening from? We arrive now at non-negotiable number 3, the absolute sovereignty over your time and calendar. A man's time is his most precious and non-renewable resource. When a woman enters your life, she will immediately test the perceived value of your time by demanding it instantly, expecting spontaneity that favors her schedule, and creating low-stakes conflict when you adhere to pre-existing commitments that don't involve her. This test is deceptively simple, yet it is where 90% of men surrender their frame. The man who allows a woman to routinely violate his schedule signals several destructive things. He signals that he lacks important commitments, and therefore he lacks high value. High-value men are always busy doing valuable things. The non-negotiable here is simple. My calendar is set, and it is respected by everyone, including you. When she attempts to change plans last minute, demanding you drop a gym session, cancel a commitment with a friend, or postpone a deep work block because she is suddenly free, your response must be an unwavering, polite but firm, "I already have a commitment at that time." The psychological fallout of failing this test is immediate. She interprets your immediate availability not as devotion, but as desperation. She needs to know you have an identity outside of her, an identity compelling enough that she needs to align her schedule with yours. Think about the subtle manipulation she employs. The moment you yield, the moment you cancel your planned activity to mitigate her emotional discomfort, you have taught her that drama is the lever to move your schedule. You have sacrificed your purpose for her approval, and she will never respect a man who makes that trade. Your time is finite. Treat it like gold, and she will treat you like the gold standard. A partnership involves sharing, yes, but before a deep, legally bound commitment is established, your resources are not her solution. This non-negotiable is fundamentally about preventing financial dependency and avoiding the catastrophic perception that you are merely an ATM disguised as a boyfriend. It starts small, a forgotten wallet, a request for a small loan for an unexpected bill, or a subtle suggestion that you should invest in her fledgling hobby or business venture. The financial test is a direct measure of your discernment. The non-negotiable stance is this: I am a generous man, but I am not an indiscriminate resource dispenser. I will pay for dates and experiences I initiate, but I do not fund independent liabilities. The psychological consequence of becoming a financial safety net before commitment is devastating. If she knows your finances are readily accessible, she loses the incentive to maintain her own responsibility and independence. She stops seeing you as a source of attraction and challenge and starts seeing you as a resource manager. The most dangerous scenario is when she presents a crisis, a sudden bill, an imminent eviction, a medical expense, and watches how you react. If you rush in, solve the crisis, and expect gratitude, you will receive two things: temporary relief for her and permanent loss of respect for yourself. She will resent that you had to fix her problem, and she will despise the weakness you showed by confusing pity with love. Your non-negotiable is to hold the line. I support you emotionally, but I cannot financially support poor decisions or lifestyle choices. This is a hard truth, but the moment you become financially entangled before marriage, you provide her with a mechanism to stay in the relationship long after she has lost attraction for you, a scenario that guarantees misery for both of you. Protecting your resources is protecting your frame, your freedom, and paradoxically, her respect for your independence. Moving now to non-negotiable number 5, the unshakable commitment to your mission and your brotherhood. This mission must be non-negotiable. Furthermore, the supportive social structure, his male friends, his mentors, his accountability partners, must also remain sacrosanct. Isolation makes him easier to control, easier to predict, and easier to keep focused solely on her needs. She will inevitably test this by subtly or overtly criticizing your friends, disparaging your hobbies, like gaming, sports, or personal projects, or demanding that you reduce the time spent on your core mission to focus on domestic duties or couple time. She might say, "Those friends are childish. Why don't you spend that poker night with me?" Or, "You spend too much time working on that project. We need balance." My friends, who hold me accountable to high standards, are non-negotiable support structures. When a man sacrifices his mission for a woman, the outcome is universal. He loses his sense of self. She didn't fall for the man who spends Sunday doing laundry. She fell for the man who was ruthlessly focused on building his empire. The moment he sacrifices the empire for her comfort, he stops being the man she desired. A man must be loyal to his fellow men and to his purpose. If she attempts to break those bonds, she is testing if she can become the entire world. The goal is not to ignore her, it is to integrate her into a life already rich and purposeful. The non-negotiable is that the mission is the foundation, and she is the beautiful addition to the structure, not the wrecking ball aimed at the foundation. Emotional control is the final frontier of the male frame. Women are masters of emotional expression, and often, this emotional expression, specifically crying, exaggerated distress, or manufactured anxiety, is used not as a genuine reflection of feeling, but as a strategic tool to short-circuit a man's logical decision-making process. The non-negotiable is that a man's decisions regarding the relationship, finances, future plans, or conflict resolution are rooted in clarity, principles, and objective reality, never in mitigating her emotional storm. When a difficult conversation arises, or when she is faced with accountability, she may escalate the situation by dissolving into tears, accusing you of cruelty, or creating drama to distract from the core issue. The weak man, the man without a core non-negotiable here, immediately collapses. He moves from being the leader and arbiter of truth to being the comforter and apologist. The moment you let her tears dictate your behavior, you teach her that emotional instability is the most effective way to control you. She learns that if she cries hard enough, she gets what she wants, regardless of the logic or fairness of the situation. The man who maintains his frame must adopt a position of calm, compassionate firmness. You can acknowledge the emotion without capitulating to the demand. You must not chase her when she runs away dramatically. You must not apologize for being truthful. The psychological reality is that women do not respect men. They can routinely manipulate through emotion. They need a pillar of stability. If you crumble under pressure, she knows instinctively that you are not strong enough to protect her or a potential family during real crisis. She will instinctively feel contempt for your lack of resolve, and she will seek comfort and respect from a man who possesses that inner steel. They are interconnected pillars supporting your masculine identity. Failure in one area weakens the entire structure, leading to the inevitable decline in female respect. You must install these boundaries now with absolute certainty. We need to hear your declaration of self-worth. Write the phrase, "My frame is unbreakable." Share that declaration immediately. If this deep dive into the psychological machinery of respect has clarified patterns in your own life, you need to be connected to this community. The value of this information is exponential. Subscribe to the channel now. Hit the like button if you understand that protecting your frame is the highest form of self-respect. And be ready, because the next step is the culmination. Get ready to understand the ultimate non-negotiable demands that separate the leader from the follower, the man who is chosen from the man who is settled for. That information arrives next. We have walked through the biological timeline, the dramatic market shift, and the psychological corrosion that drives the "I'm ready now" phenomenon. But understanding the mechanism is only half the battle. This moment, the late 30s convergence where the woman's declining fertility meets her evaporating options, is not a sudden epiphany of maturity. It is the culmination of decades of strategic miscalculation hitting a wall of biological reality. And the man who steps into that void, the stable, reliable, good-hearted man who was overlooked when she had better choices, must recognize that he is not entering a romance. He is entering a rescue mission. And rescue missions almost always end in resentment. Before we conclude this vital instruction, I need to know where this message is resonating. We are dismantling cultural lies about relationships that span continents and demographics. What city, what state, what country are you setting your non-negotiables? Drop your location in the comments now. Now let us detail the final devastating cost of ignoring these 5 patterns. The cost isn't just a difficult marriage. The cost is the total demolition of the man's emotional life and his future financial security, all based on a commitment that was fraudulent from the beginning. When a woman settles, that psychological compromise never truly heals. Hypergamy, the innate drive to seek the highest status partner available, does not simply switch off because a legal document was signed. The resentment doesn't manifest as loud arguments about past mistakes. It appears as an atmospheric poison that suffocates the relationship slowly. Why? Because those men met her hypergamic standards then. She will look at the stability you provide, the mortgage, the savings account, the family structure, and instead of feeling gratitude, she feels trapped by the necessity that forced her hand. She convinced herself she wanted stability, but what she truly desired was high-status attraction with stability. Since she settled for the latter without the former, she will seek to recreate the excitement she missed, not through infidelity necessarily, but through manufactured conflict, emotional drama, or by constantly pushing your boundaries To see if you are truly the alpha she subconsciously wishes she had married. This is the ultimate erosion of respect. Respect is not built on provision alone. It is built on congruence, authenticity, and desirability. It is simulated respect, necessary for her to maintain the infrastructure of the family she requires. This performance of respect is far more damaging than open contempt, because it convinces the man that things are fundamentally okay, while the foundations of his marriage are being eaten away by internal comparison disease. Consider the compounding factors. The woman who serial dated and avoided emotional intimacy often struggles severely with true pair bonding after 35. Marriage requires the complete opposite: long-term, low-intensity commitment, shared vulnerability, and deep emotional security. She finds this boring, stagnant, or even suffocating. When the inevitable monotony of long-term partnership sets in, she doesn't have the psychological tools to cope. She defaults to the only strategy she knows: exit and upgrade. This brings us to the ultimate, universal non-negotiable that must govern every man's life, encompassing the previous 6 standards. You absolutely refuse to be the solution to a crisis you did not create, especially when that crisis was manufactured by her own voluntary high-risk choices. This refusal is the ultimate act of self-respect. It means recognizing that the clock running out on her biology is her problem, not your ticking deadline. How do you enforce this final, non-negotiable standard? Through rigorous, uncompromising vetting. Demand time and observation. Reject any pressure for accelerated timelines. If she is genuinely transformed, a 2-year dating period will not change her mind. Pressure is a tactic of the desperate. Patience is the tool of the powerful. Test her reaction to hardship. Delay offering excessive resources or comfort immediately. See how she reacts when things aren't easy, when you face a minor financial setback, or when you simply disagree profoundly. 3. Monitor the comparison disease. Observe her behavior around status. Or does she speak about the excitement of past relationships with a wistful energy? Does she still chase attention on social platforms after commitment? 4. Insist on accountability. When discussing her history, reject the victim narrative entirely. Genuine transformation requires acknowledging, "I made bad choices because I prioritized excitement over character." If she cannot say that, she has not changed. She has merely reframed her presentation. To be clear, choosing stability over excitement is a sign of maturity, but needing stability after burning the bridge of excitement is desperation. One is a partner, the other is a dependent who carries a ticking emotional bomb of regret and resentment. The man who understands this dynamic gains immense power. You do not owe commitment to someone who withheld their best years from you while offering them freely to others who failed to commit. Your resources, your fidelity, and your emotional stability are the most valuable assets you possess. They are reserved exclusively for the woman who chose you when she had genuine high-status options, not the one who finally decided you were the best available rescue vessel after the water rose. This is not pessimism. This is disciplined optimism based on reality. The world wants you to commit based on emotional need and fear of loneliness. We insist you commit based on forensic data, pattern recognition, and the protection of your self-respect. We have unveiled the most challenging and hidden dynamics of modern dating psychology. The clarity you now possess is a shield against the most expensive mistake a man can make. We need a definitive phrase that embodies this ultimate non-negotiable. Suggest a 4-word phrase that says, "I see the performance and I will not settle." Put your best suggestion below, and let's choose the phrase that defines this movement of self-respect. If you found the truth today more valuable than comfortable lies, demonstrate that value. Hit that subscribe button right now. When you subscribe and like this video, you aren't just supporting the channel. You are actively signaling the algorithm to prioritize intellectual honesty over convenient narratives, ensuring that vital, fact-based information reaches the men who need it most. And trust me, you are going to want to be fully locked in for what comes next. We have completed the psychological autopsy on desperation, but the next conversation demands a forensic examination of the men who are consistently chosen and those who are consistently rejected. The next chapter will redefine how you approach personal development and status building, ensuring you never have to worry about being an option again. Make sure those notifications are on. You do not want to miss the path to becoming truly non-negotiable.